Feel a little low.
You're actually where you kind of want him right now. I'd hold this.
These Air Force pilots are refueling their C-17 Globemaster III at 26,000 feet in the air.
Good.
Back.
Now be patient. Just see what it gives you.
It does.
Really good.
The pilots rendezvous with a KC-10 refueler jet that pumps gas down through a controlled boom at 1,100 gallons per minute.
Contact. Blue intercom. 5-7 contact.
Nice job, Drew. Way to flex with it.
Yeah. Break away, break away, break away.
It's one of 3 missions we saw while embedded with a crew training to fly the C-17. At 174 feet long and 55 feet tall, the C-17 has a maximum payload of around 170,000 pounds and can land on runways shorter than 3,500 feet, with just 3 crew members manning the aircraft.
We can do everything from supporting contingencies, so the war downrange. We can support COVID missions has been a big thing recently. We can also do humanitarian missions, so helping evac sick patients, wounded soldiers.
Due to its high payload capacity, C-17s were used in August 2021 to evacuate people from Afghanistan, with one plane carrying 823 passengers.
The basic crew of a C-17, there's 3 of us. There's a pilot, a co-pilot, and 1 loadmaster.
So my role here as a C-17 loadmaster is to load these aircraft, whether it be helicopters, tanks, Humvees, ambulatory patients.
Ultimately, our mission is to support someone else.
The average salary of a C-17 pilot stationed at Travis Air Force Base is around $117,000, and the typical tour is about 3 years. Training happens here at Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, California, 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. And before pilots complete missions in the sky, they practice the complicated maneuvers in a state-of-the-art simulator.
It's pretty realistic. We use it to practice emergencies that you can't practice in the jet or you wouldn't want to practice in the jet, whether that's multiple engine losses or really poor weather conditions.
Fire number 2, engine. Confirm number 2.
Number 2.
Students train for emergencies like enemy threats and hydraulic failures. But the first scenario is a simulated engine fire.
Could you please scan the number 2 engine for us? We're showing engine fire indications. And then I've got the radios, you've got the checklist.
Roger.
A lot of crew coordination happens at that time, so that's a good safe space for young co-pilots to first get the feel for what the stick and power inputs feel like before you go do it in the jet.
Emergency engine shutdown checklist is completed. 221, clear to land, runway 21 left.
After practicing in the simulator, the crew meets in the briefing room to plan a live training mission.
So training flight tomorrow. Showtime is a little non-standard. We're gonna do 6:30 local showtime at base ops.
Pilots and crew spend hours the day before a mission discussing the route, the objectives, and backup plans if anything goes wrong.
So if we're in a failure to disconnect position, the main thing is just maintain a good stable platform, keep doing what you're doing if you're pilot flying.
The crew finalized their plans and were dismissed to prepare for the flight. Precisely at 10:00, the crew boarded the plane and ran through their final checklists. The first exercise of the training mission, refueling in midair.
So air refueling is basically, if you think about a gas station in the sky. The whole concept there is we have 2 aircraft meeting at the same point in space, so it can be potentially sensitive cargo you're carrying and you don't want to stop, or perhaps there's just not a good place to land, or maybe you don't have the time to land.
Feel a little low.
You're actually where you kind of want him right now. I'd hold this.
So we'll be about 1,000 feet below the other aircraft, and then eventually closing that altitude gap to where their boom, that's the long pole that sticks out of the aircraft, to actually pass the gas from their aircraft to ours, we end up making contact with their boom.
I think we got big throttle inputs in the backing up, and so you just have you're gonna have to work a little harder to kind of find the null again. Good.
Back.
Now be patient. Just see what it gives you.
It does.
A good saying is, aim small, miss small. When we're air refueling, we're focusing on very small details and trying to see like small movements, because small movements that close can make a big impact.
Refueling happens while pilots maneuver the C-17 at 300 miles per hour, nearly 30,000 feet in the sky.
Contact, blue intercom. 5-7 contact.
For me, I was thinking about improving my power movements. So my stick movements, so my right hand, I was sitting in the right seat, were pretty solid, but like my throttle movements could have been a lot better. So it's something that I can work on in the future.
Break away, break away, break away.
That'll speed brake. Very nice. Nice job, dude.
Phase 2 of the mission involves low-level flying.
So low-level flying during the day, we can go as low as 300 feet above the ground, which is pretty low for a large aircraft. And the intent there is to stay below the radar picture of a potential adversary. So when you're lower, there's a few tactical benefits that we have that help us get to a not-so-great spot in a safer manner.
All right, you want to fly a little bit, dude? That's because we need to fly what speed, right?
We need to fly 290.
All right, set 290 for you.
Out there flying it, we're watching our altitudes and making sure that we're clearing any obstacles or anything like that. We also had another pilot in the back looking at the map and the chart, calling out different towers on each side of the route and helping us avoid them and clear them that way.
Pretty sweet view, huh?
Oh yeah.
The C-17 headed north towards Moses Lake, Washington, to practice landing in an assault zone.
So an assault zone is a short runway. Typically, they're about 3,500 feet. And then it has a marked zone that's 500 feet long. And our goal is to put our aircraft in the 500-foot box and then use max effort to stop on the remaining runway.
Crews have to master landing on a traditional airstrip, as well as temporary runways.
So the tactical part of the C-17 is it goes to fields that maybe have shorter runways or dirt runways, and oftentimes those are in combat locations or austere fields.
Pull back up on the stick and put a little bit of power in.
500 feet, front of the zone.
Roger. And full stop, everybody. Minimum
300 feet front of the zone with a correction.
Roger. 50
feet.
The final mission, a combat offload back at the Travis Air Force Base.
Basically what we'll be doing is simulating an expedited offload. Typically if we're in a situation in which we don't have the equipment to do a download, if we have to get in and out really quick, maybe a hostile location. Once we release the locks, we'll stay brakes released as well to the pilots, and then they will hit the throttles, release the brakes, and the pilot will go out of the aft into the aircraft. We'll call load clear, close up, and then we'll get out of here.
Overall, it was a great sortie for everyone. It was very busy and very long, so it's always tough to go fly for 6 hours and constantly be engaged. But I think everyone performed really well. I think a lot of people relate cargo jets to like an airliner, but what we do I think is very different. Specifically, we go anywhere and everywhere in the world. Sometimes that means you have lots of information on that airfield, sometimes it means you have none. And so like I said, you have to be a problem solver and really think on your toes. So it's really rewarding when you go pick up 150 guys who have been deployed for 6 months and you get to bring them home to their families.